Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Robinson, do you know the dollar amount roughly of American assets in China right now?
In a word, no. But
Roughly?
when we talk about assets, we're talking about manufacturing assets
Manufacturing
as
assets, inventory, you're looking at money that's sitting there being invested in these things.
haven't had the bandwidth because concentrating too much on the financial piece alone.
Okay. What would happen to the assets? We've been talking endlessly about China invading Taiwan.
Yeah.
And if we sanction Taiwan or China, what's going to be the reaction of China, do you think?
I think that the greater concern might be, of course, our reaction in the sense that if there's a shooting conflict in the Taiwan Strait, I think one of the first things that the Congress will do on a bipartisan basis is recognize that it's all over for Chinese enterprises in the U.S. capital markets. I mean, the advantages that they're attaining here in terms of not just hundreds of billions of dollars of funding, but the prestige of being in the world's deepest and most voluminous markets is a kind of good housekeeping seal of approval that they take around the world to leverage in other markets. In other words, it's just a fantastic, prestigious event for them. And we're going to want to deny that, the money as well as the prestige. So the question then comes as to what kind of losses are the American investors going to take? As I mentioned, we're in the 100 million to 150 million Americans here who have this unwitting financial risk exposure to those thousands of Chinese companies. No one, to my knowledge, has any handle at Treasury or elsewhere as to what is the total amount of financial risk exposure of the American people to those Chinese corporate enterprises in our capital markets, not to mention the sovereign bonds that we just talked about. So it's a big number. It's over $1 trillion. It could be 2 or 3. No one really knows for sure, but that is my greatest concern, that if we don't act to at least excise, sanction bad actors, for goodness sake, we're going to have a horrific financial crisis, and folks are going to be coming to you asking for grace periods and even bailouts of the American people because the hit that the American people are taking is so draconian. Wait a minute. We have a chance right now to do something about this. Why is it that we always have to wait until we're electrocuted before we get the picture? So that would be my strong feeling.
So what you're saying is that you believe that should those actions take place, the reaction is going to be a closing down of the markets, a loss by the American people of all their investments in China, and therefore their savings, their retirements, whatever is there is going to be gone. Is that what you're saying?
That's my concern, yes.
Yes. You know, one of the things today in Bloomberg, there was an article that's Wall Street's biggest banks face a harsh reality check in China. They're continuing to look at and starting to think about their investment there, their position there, which is interesting. And I think we need to keep the pressure on everybody. I think this committee is making a difference, and these folks are starting to think twice about their investments there. And so, Mr. Robinson, you know, how do we prepare the American people for this? Do we start by saying these asset managers and investors have a fiduciary responsibility that they need to disclose to the people who are investing in China? Or should we just let them go ahead? Should we list China as a terrorist organization, as an enemy of the state, to prohibit the investment there? How do we control the ability to invest there and cut off the money that keeps flowing into this country that underpins all of the activities of the Chinese Communist Party, including detaining their people, oppressing their people, building up their military, et cetera?
We have to enforce the rules. After all, these are fiduciaries. They're supposed to be seeing companies that are compliant with U.S. federal securities laws. None of the Chinese are. You have to have corporate governance. There's no such thing, or rule of law, or any kind of proper risk management. You've got you've got one abuse after the other in the area of investor protection. I mean, this is very unusual. China has gotten a free ride across the board for way too long. And the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board waiver of May 2013 is merely one example. We don't have time to get into that right now, but these are among the things that we can do to help protect the American people from that day and get that risk exposure way down. Trust me, none of this can stand the light of day when you see it the way I have.
Thank you.
Gentleman,
I yield
time has
back.
expired.